Yeah, welcome back, Elaine. Going to the Zoom room for another Art of Letting Go live session. Now let's jump into our email for today. So there's a quote we'll look at that, a bit of related teaching that'll lead us nicely into today's lesson, and maybe we'll have a look at the insert on what is the real world as well. Okay, so let's just bring up that email. I'm going to share my screen if you can let's look at. There we go. Make it a bit bigger. Okay, so if you can read that quote, Elaine.
Yeah.
Out loud.
The world we see merely reflects our own internal frame of reference, the dominant ideas, wishes, and emotions in our minds. Projection makes perception. In brackets, text introduction to chapter 21. We look inside first, decide the kind of world we want to see, and then project that world outside, making it the truth as we see it. We make it true by our interpretations of what it is we are seeing. If we are using perception to justify our own mistakes, our anger, our impulses to attack, our lack of love, in whatever form it may take, we will see a world of evil, destruction, malice, envy, and despair. All this we must learn to forgive, not because we are being good, in quote marks, and charitable, but because that we are seeing is not true.
Yeah, what we are seeing is not true.
Oh, but what we are seeing is not true.
So this is from the preface of the ACIM text, telling us exactly what the world is, a projection of our own dominant ideas, desires, and emotions, and why we should forgive or let go of it. Not because we are so spiritual or enlightened, as you said, good and charitable, which can be just another false self-concept and causes more false projections and perceptions, but because nothing that you perceive outside of you is real. It's just because it's not true. It's not real. It's not true. So that's the fundamental basis of all forgiveness. And there's no personal identity trying to get anything from that. It just is what it is. Why would you value it, give it importance if it's simply not true? So while fundamentalist scientific materialists will scoff at this idea, well, how can you say the world's not real? Nothing that you perceive outside of you is real, because their whole world is based on the reality of the material world. Newtonian physics, which is the foundational scientific theory behind scientific materialism, is based on the idea that there's an objective world out there. There really is a world that is independent of the observer, of the people and things that seem to live in the world, that exist independent of them, and that they are separate from it. It is separate from them. They are separate from it. Everything is separate, and this picture that's been shown is true. So, whereas an honest scientist, you're not a scientific materialist, will be open to looking at the results of thousands of quantum and other experiments performed in different places around the world over the last 100-odd years, since quantum mechanics was really propagated in the 1920s for the first time. It's had, over just about 100 years now. So if you're really open to looking at those results without the perceptual bias towards making the external world real, as classical Newtonian physics demands, then you must admit that. And do you want to read that one? This is a quote by a guy called Sir James Jeans, who was a pioneering quantum physicist.
The stream of knowledge is heading towards a non-mechanical reality. The universe begins to look more like a great thought than like a great machine. Mind no longer appears to be an accidental intruder into the realm of matter. We ought rather hail it as the creator and governor of the realm of matter.
Okay, so she's saying in that one.
Wow. So it's now saying that the universe is starting to look more like a great thought rather than a great machine. So the mind is no longer appears to be accidental intruder into the realm of matter, which is our bodies and our yeah.
See, that's the scientific materialist paradigm that he's criticizing there. He's saying, well, somehow, in that paradigm, mind consciousness is an accident that happened because of the body and the brain. Those developed first, and then consciousness kind of comes as a product of the brain function. Which is a crazy belief, because then you have to ask, well, where then did the body come from, and where did the brain come from? And they kind of go, well, they're just atoms and molecules that sort of randomly got formed together over billions of years of evolution. You're like, but surely there's some kind of intelligence behind it. The scientific materialists can't really address that question, because it calls into question their entire thought system. So if you want to dive a bit more deeply into this, James Jeans's book called it The Mysterious Universe. It's a classic of quantum physics, quantum mechanics. So you can download it if you want to. There's also an article on it that summarizes what he had to say. So you can read that. And what you start to see, the reason why I focus on sometimes on quantum mechanics in this course and this program, is because it is the scientific version of what these great spiritual teachings have been saying. Actually, quantum mechanics and a deep non-dual spirituality are very similar. Quantum mechanics focuses, obviously, it's teaching on the illusion. It doesn't talk about what's beyond illusion. Whereas the truth does. But you can learn from these experiences. So yeah, read that. There's an ebook as well you can read. His whole book called The Mysterious Universe. And I would argue, that's a misnomer, because it's not actually mysterious. If you understand it's all just a great thought projected by the mind, as people like James Jeans have been saying for over 100 years now. So this was in the 1930s. He wrote a book. So the universe is all a great thought projected by the mind, which is what these quantum physicists, cosmologists have said the same thing. Essentially, cosmologists say, well, it all, started with one moment called the Big Bang. Well, what is that moment but a projection of thought? They would generally not, call it thought. They call it energy, but energy is just projected thought. So when you combine the scientific, cutting-edge scientific understanding from people like cosmologists and quantum physicists with spiritual insights, then you get the truth that gives you access to the ultimate truth. So
yeah, I'll have a read of that.
Yeah,
because it's only 8 pages long, isn't it? Not too long.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
no, I'm thinking it was a big book.
You'll
Yeah,
see
I'll
that
read it.
it's really, science is saying what these spiritual teachings have been saying for thousands of years. Now, science is only caught up, and is saying the same thing. So all roads eventually go to God. The scientific paradigm, scientific way of thought, and the religious way, in the end, you'll arrive at the same point. The conclusion that actually none of this is true. Quantum mechanics is really just saying it's an illusion. And the laws of quantum mechanics illustrate that. There's a whole lot of really wacky stuff that goes on at a quantum level that is not explainable by the Newtonian physics, the laws of Newtonian physics. So what does that tell you? It means that physics is not complete, that there's actually a deeper truth. So, a lot of scientists try and defend that and say, well, we'll stick to this and we'll try and ignore all the evidence to the contrary and just stick to this very limited paradigm because it's comfortable. But that's not what the Holy Spirit really wants. He wants you to get uncomfortable and really look at this ego and go, okay, I have to let this go to free my mind and find some kind of peace and comfort. I have to do this. So if you can accept this fundamental premise of Yeshua's teachings, and everything you perceive in the seemingly external universe must logically be false. Therefore, your ability to forgive or let go ultimately depends on faith. And, will you accept this fundamental premise or deny it? That's the question, which we all have to answer. Fundamental premise being accept that the belief in separation of mind that's dreamt up the universe is false. That's the premise. That this world and whatever projected is false. Stated another way, and the question is, will you let go of your mental and emotional attachment, people, things, events, circumstances that seem to exist in this world? Which means you must have accepted the premise that they're not true. Or allow the ego's negative, reactive thoughts and emotions that cover over or negate the truth. The only pure form of awareness of perfect love is real to dominate your mind, drown out the remembrance of perfect love, which reminds you of the truth. So those are the choices. You're either going to hold on to the ego and all of its negative thoughts and emotions, or you're going to let go and allow the Holy Spirit to come back into your mind. So whenever you read, reflect on one of Yeshua's mind training lessons from the workbook, use it to help you to let go of negative thoughts and emotions. It's a success. You're overcoming the ego. So use the lessons to help you to let go of the negative thoughts and emotions, such as anger, attack thoughts, and what calls lack of love in whatever form it may take. When you do that, when you let go, you accept the premise that none of these thoughts and emotions are real, other the people, things, events, and circumstances that seem to justify them. So you're learning the truth of these principles through your own experience. It's the only way you can learn it. All right, so any questions on any of that?
That's interesting. Yeah, I'll have a read of that article.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll find that it resonates, the Course's message. And when he talks about the beginning of the world and how this all came about, it really does align strongly with the Course's teaching. Let's just go here. So what are we? We're doing so let's find this. There we go. Look at this diagram, which we've looked at many times. When cosmology says, well, the universe began in this one moment, they call the Big Bang. All energy and matter was birthed seemingly out of nothing. That moment is the moment of separation, where the ego projected out this thought and it became energy in that moment. That's all it is. It's a projection of thought. So it aligns very much with cosmology, with quantum mechanics, that's saying none of this is really true. You can't really rely on it. Actually, the only thing that is true is 0-point energy, as they call it. It's just the one true awareness that never changes. Okay, so should we go let's have a look at, related to this, what is the real world? Let's go, what is the real world? Yeah, so let's record. Okay, so this is the insert 8 on what is the real world. I'm going to answer that question in 5 pretty short paragraphs.
We're just doing the alternative because we've done it a few times, haven't we?
Yeah, that's fine. There's not actually that much to translate.
Oh, good.
So maybe generic words. So yeah, just in the alternative, read it and then give a little summary of it.
The real world is a symbol, like the rest of what perception offers. Yet it stands for what is opposite to what I made. I see my world through the eyes of fear, and it brings the witnesses of terror to my mind. The real world cannot be perceived except through eyes letting go blesses. So they see a world where terror is impossible and witnesses to fear cannot be found. So it's just saying that the real world is a symbol, and it's actually the opposite of what we've made. And the world that we appear to see through the eyes of fear, we see witnesses of terror to the mind, but that's not the real world. The real world is where the eyes are letting go and sees blessings of the world, and fear is impossible, and there's no witnesses at all to be found in the real world.
Yeah, so we just don't we don't see the witnesses of fear, even though they might be going on. As this lady I was staying watching the news, so all these images of war and terror and so on. She was watching it. Like, but don't focus on it. The real world is not there. That's the illusory world. So don't focus on it, make it real. Go, oh, this is, oh, it's terrible. Oh, shocking. Like, okay, but you're making it all real. So you can just overlook all of that. Rather than making it real in your mind. And you make it real whenever you judge it as real, you react to it. So there's an emotional reaction. By definition, you've just made it real. Otherwise, why would you be reacting? You're reacting to something. You've made it real in your perception. And then the more you react to it, the more real it becomes. All right, so happy with number one. Let's move on to number two.
The real world holds a counterpart for each unhappy thought reflected in my world, a sure correction for the sights of fear and sounds of battle which my world contains. The real world shows a world perceived differently, through quiet eyes and with a mind at peace. There is nothing but rest there. No cries of pain and sorrow are heard there, for nothing there remains beyond letting go. And the sights are gentle. Only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind that has released itself. So it's just the real world. The real world holds a counterpart for all these negative, unhappy emotions and thoughts that we perceive, and all the battles and so forth. But in actual fact, the real world shows something completely different. It's quiet, it's peaceful. There's no cries, no misery. Nothing remains beyond its letting go. All the sights are gentle, sounds, once we've released itself. Very nice.
Sights are gentle. Only happy sights and sound can reach the mind that has released itself. So, a very nice thought. So this is the enlightened state. When you're in this enlightened state, then peace, love, happiness, joy are always yours. And there have been people who have reflected this and have shown us that it's possible. But only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind as released itself. It is possible, it's doable. It requires a lot of vigilance, a lot of mind training, no doubt. But it has been done by people like Yeshua, the Buddha, these spiritual masters that were nothing. People think that they were born some kind of spiritual master and they were very special. And no doubt they'd had some experiences, maybe some learning in past lifetimes. But they just made a choice. They were so special in the world because they made the choice for God exclusively. Said, this is the only choice, and I will live this way and not be swayed by the ego's stories. Okay, so anything else on number two? Shall we go to number three then?
Yeah. What need has such a mind for thoughts of death, attack, and murder? What can it perceive surrounding it except safety, love, and joy? What can it choose to be condemned, and what can it judge against? The world it perceives arises from a mind at peace within itself. No danger lurks in anything it perceives. for it is kind, and so it perceives only kindness. So once we're in this mind, there's no need for all these needless thoughts of death and attack and murder. And once we realize this, then we're surrounded in safety, love, and joy. And so the world it sees arises from a mind at peace within itself. No danger lurks. It is just kind and only perceives kindness.
There's the non-dual aspect. So it doesn't perceive duality. It doesn't take sides. Interesting, because my mom sent me a video, and it was made by he was American, but on the side of Israel. So it was about comparing the Holocaust with what's happening in Israel currently, and all these images, but it was such an ego-charged message, saying, well, your silence, if you do nothing, then you're effectively condoning this, and you must take a side. Choose a side, or a side will choose you. And then he ended off the video saying, well, if you're silent and passive, then one day your silence and passivity will come to murder you in cold blood. I'm like, whoa, what a message!
What an awful message!
I laughed. It's just like, oh my goodness, that's just ego.
It's the ego 101. Really, its fullest, yeah.
Ego 101. Or you have to take a side. You have to polarize yourself and pick a side on this, and then you have to do something about it and get involved, because otherwise you're not being a good human being. And lots of fear. If you don't do this, then your silence and passivity will come to murder you in your sleep. I mean, my God, talk about a fearful message. All designed, to rally support for one side of the cause. Okay, well now you've got to support Israel in this conflict, instead of just rising above it and going, this is just ludicrous.
Primitive, very primitive.
The whole war is insane. What needs to be let go of in the mind by both sides is the idea that they are enemies, and that they are really in conflict, and that it's somehow justifiable to go to war and kill and attack your brothers who are really the same as you. The idea that we're separate is behind the war. And so that's what really needs to be addressed. You're not taking sides in the conflict and like one side now against another, because that solves nothing. That just perpetuates the conflict, doesn't it? But I thought it was interesting. And I'll forward it to you if you want, because it really is a good demonstration
of the really low
of the ego's thought system. It's all in there in 3 minutes. It's a power packed just in how the ego misperceives the world, and then how it tries to rally support for its cause using these are typical propaganda techniques. He's comparing it's the past, and then showing images from the camp concentration camps at Dachau to now. It's like, well, it's actually got nothing in common, because Israel is now a state on its own, and they are actually largely in charge, and there's certainly no angels in the conflict. So the comparison is not a valid one, but it's all about the past, and then stimulating the emotion, getting people juiced up, and then it's a guilt. So look at the emotions. There's a guilt going on, because if you don't do this, then you're not playing your part. You're not being a good person. You're letting the suffering go, and you should be doing something about it. And then fear. Well, if you don't do something about it, one day the boogeyman will come and get you, and you'll be murdered in cold blood in your sleep.
I mean,
but it's laughable. It's so egoic that you just got to laugh. It's like, oh, that's just ridiculous. That's so absurd and bizarre. it just can't be believed.
No.
So I'll forward it to you because it's
Yeah.
just from a mind training point of view, just listen
Yeah.
to it and go, oh, okay, I can see, oh, okay, there's another ego. Oh, okay. Oh, he's using that
Put it
trick
on
of
the
the
roof.
ego.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's using
No,
that
well,
trick of the ego and that one. And like, I mean, apparently David Hoffmeister used to go to horror movies and laugh. He'd spend in his lovely, he got such a
yeah.
lovely laugh. He'd just be chuckling away because it's like it's just so ridiculous. It's
Mm.
ridiculous and it's bizarre. That this could actually be seen as scary because the ego is just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But you have to have a,
See
a
what it
higher
is.
perspective to do that and
Mm.
not be sucked into this kind
Mm.
of propaganda.
Feel-
Which unfortunately an untrained mind is. That's why they still use propaganda because it works. Because an untrained mind gets sucked into them and believes the story and then reacts accordingly, however they want. Well, no, I've got to now support one side in this conflict, and I've got to maybe donate money, or I've got to go and even fight, or whatever. It's all mind control to try and get people to perceive in a certain way and then act in a certain way. And
Mm.
coming back to this, saying, well, what need does an enlightened mind have for any of these thoughts of death, attack, and murder?
Mm.
Well, what can it perceive it surrounding it except safety, love, and joy? So just transcend the whole conflict. Taking a side doesn't transcend it. It gets you very embroiled in it, doesn't it?
Mm.
Transcend it and see that any conflict and war and all the suffering it causes is pure illusion. It has nothing to do with reality. It's just a device of the ego to try and perpetuate its false self-concept and world that arises from it. And with that mindset, nothing is really frightening. Nothing is scary. There's no danger. It's kind, and so it perceives only kindness. And in the face of these, really ridiculous ego attacks on the truth, we have to remain in the state of awareness, loving awareness no matter what, so we can remain loving and kind and giving and generous in the face of all of these illusions. Okay, happy with number? Yeah, we've done number
Yeah,
3.
that's good. Yeah.
Good, number 3. Yeah. Moving swiftly on to 4 then.
The real world is the symbol of that dream of sin and guilt is over, and perfect love's extension no longer sleeps. Its awakening eyes perceive the sure reflection of its source's love and the certain promise that it is freed. The real world signifies the end of time, for its perception makes time purposeless. So again, it's just about the real world, the symbol of a dream of sin and guilt.
Mm.
And it's over with perfect love's extension. It no longer is asleep. Its awakening eyes has the reflection of the source's love. And that's when we're freed.
Mm.
The end of
Mm.
time.
Mm.
Because time becomes purposeless once this happens.
Yeah, we see it correctly. And that's all the real world is. It's the world perceived correctly. So you look on all the whatever the ego's made, and you perceive that it's all unreal. It really has no point. There's no purpose to any of it. So time is purposeless, and your mind is freed to go back to eternity, to its state of pure formless awareness, perfect love for all eternity, because it doesn't see any point anymore in being in a body in an insane world.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're in that state, our awakening eyes perceive what he calls the real world. Our perception is corrected, and all of these kinds of appearances don't really affect us. You just laugh at them. It's like, that's just ridiculous. I watched it and I was like, okay, well, that's just, oh, okay, there's the ego doing that. Okay, it's doing that. But you're not sucked in by it. You're above the battleground, literally in that case, because he's talking about, war and conflict. So we can train our minds to do that. That doesn't mean that there's not ever going to be conflict in the world, because there's always been conflict in the world. It just means you're not affected by it. And that's the only control you have. You're not going to stop the war in Israel or the Ukraine or any of these other conflicts that go on yourself. But your job is to perceive it correctly. And if you perceive it correctly, it's no problem. Then, followers of the ego will say, oh, well, that's being very callous. These people are suffering and dying. Surely, you should be concerned. You've heard that argument, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
I should be concerned and essentially bind myself into suffering and death, thoughts of death, attack, and murder, so that I can join this insanity of the ego. I can join in on the act. Basically, that's what it wants you to do. Instead of staying clear and aware and above the battleground, right? Well, these figures that come and go and they shift and change, and they suffer and they die, are not real. These are illusory figures in an illusory dream world. So nothing's really happening. There is no pain or sorrow. There's no death, attack, and murder. No one's really dying here because no one really lives. These are illusory minds living in an illusory body in an illusory world. That's the only way you can perceive it correctly and not suffer because of it. And the ego is going to say, well, that's just very cold and callous, and you need to feel their pain and you need to do something about it. But all that does is make it real for you, and it sucks you into the drama. And your mind is very embroiled in it, and you can't escape. And that's the danger. Is that your mind will get sucked into the drama, believe it, and then you believe in the illusions of sin and guilt and fear and attack and death. And yes, then that belief will come, as he said, will come and murder you in the night, because that belief is ultimately what will kill you, one way or another. But it's the egoic belief. It's not out there. It's your own belief system. That's the problem. All right. So where are we? Number 4. The real world is a symbol.
Yeah, we've just done that one.
And the dream of sin and guilt is over.
Yeah.
So remember, sin and guilt are the at the foundation of the ego. And underpinning its individual identity is the guilt and the sin that it feels for destroying God or love or oneness or pure form, source, whatever you want to call it. In order to be an individual identity, it must have destroyed this awareness. Otherwise, it couldn't be individual. So that is always then underpinning the ego's thought system of being a separate self. And the guilt and the sin are then the engine room of all evil. Evil just means to live backwards. So if you're feeling guilty and sinful, you are living backwards because you're denying your true innocent nature and believing in these illusions instead. And then, of course, from one illusion comes another. You have fear arises from guilt and sin because you think you deserve to be punished. So now you have a false expectation of punishment appearing real, which is the fear the ego specializes in, the concept of a fearful, wrathful God. Then you can't stand all this, so you project it out, and you project it out onto other people whom you blame for your misery and suffering. Yeah, so last one, number 5. So where he points us to this level. He's pointing us into the top level domain. Most of the course he's talking about this level, the level of the illusion, and then how we raise ourselves up out of that into our awareness of our true self or Christ through corrections, miracles, corrections, letting go, forgiveness. Most of the course is designed to help us do this, but every now and then he says, well, let's just take a peek above that to the next step, which is what he does here in this paragraph. Okay, so you want to read that? An alternative.
The remembrance of perfect love has no need for time when it has served its purpose. Now it waits just one moment more for pure formless awareness of perfect love to take its final step, and then time will disappear, taking perception with it as it goes and leaving only the truth to be itself. That moment is my goal, for it contains the memory of perfect love. And as I perceive a world released, it is this presence that calls to me and comes to take me home, reminding me of my identity, which my letting go has restored to me. So it's just saying about the remembrance of perfect love has no longer any need for time. It's already served its purpose. So it's just waiting for the moment of pure formless awareness to take its final step. Then time will disappear. So this is the goal. That moment, that's the goal. This is the memory of perfect love. So we need to see.
He's pointing us above this domain of perception, isn't he? Saying, you know, we'll come into this moment where God takes the final step, and we just merge back into pure formless awareness of perfect love, and that's a step that he can't really say much else about. He says God takes the final step, and when you're ready, it'll happen. And he does that a few times in the course, but mostly the course is about this correcting your misperceptions. So moving, from being fully identified with all of the people, things, and places, and events, and circumstances, and experiences of this world into now identifying with the true self that is one with its source. That's where the scope of the course properly is, and its focus is. And then he's saying, well, once you're fully identified as the true self or the Christ, this will come. God takes the final steps. You don't need to worry about that. But prepare yourself well by practicing forgiveness and identifying yourself more and more with the true self. When you do that, then you're preparing for the coming of revelation and your full awakening. And so here he gives us a little glimpse into the top level. From the intermediate or mezzanine level of the true self, he's saying, well, let's just look ahead to, where this is all going, and talks about it briefly and says, well, this is where you're going. That's your goal ultimately, is this awakening fully into this pure formless awareness of perfect love. As I perceive a world released, as this presence that calls to me, comes to me to take me home, reminding me of my identity, which my letting go is restored to me. So the final step, this presence takes me home, raises me up beyond all illusions, and I simply disappear into God and become one with pure formless awareness of perfect love. So the real world is just a stepping stone in that. In order to get into pure formless awareness of perfect love, we must first start to perceive the real world. So we're not just going to disappear from this world. So it's a process of slowly correcting the perceptions, and then through the corrected perception, identifying more and more with our true self, because that's how it works. As you correct perception, you teach yourself that you are really the Christ or the true self, and nothing else is real. Nothing else really works. And so forgiveness teaches you who you are. That's the whole point, and prepares you for the coming of God, or your true awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love. Okay, is that clear?
Very, yeah.
Yeah, I think we go over and over it. So I think it's a very clear teaching. He's talking about the real world, and if you frame it in a diagram like this, okay, so now we understand what this course is about. The course is set at this level of raising you up from the illusion into this intermediate awareness of the true self, and is primarily directed to do that, and then preparing you for this top level, the shift into that, which will happen when you're ready. And you can't really train for that, because God takes the final step. In other words, this awareness it becomes so strong in you that you just let go of everything else and just kind of merge into that, sink into that, and there's no more resistance to it. And you become it, and it becomes you, and there's no distinction anymore. And that's the union of the Father and the Son, the source and its extension. Actually very, very, very blissful, very peaceful. You just imagine you just kind of slip away into it. It's just like, okay, well, I'll just, drift away and slip away into that. And there's no more world, no more ego, no need even for a true self or true perceptions or the Holy Spirit. All of those were just learning devices. You just are now wholly identified with this pure form of awareness, perfect love.
Look forward.
All right, so yeah, that's what the real world, the perception of the real world promises in the infinite, absolute, eternal reality. It's a stepping stone to that awareness, which is so mind-blowingly awesome. We can't even conceive of it in our ego state. We just have no idea of how amazing that is. But that's what we have to be prepared for through this mind training process, to open our minds to that revelation, because in our egoic state we're not ready at all for it. In fact, we might be quite terrified of it. It suddenly came, because we wouldn't know what to make of it. Whereas if you've done this slow process of correcting, shifting, changing, gradually you start to open your mind to it and become more and more open and receptive. And then, as the Zen saying says, spiritual practice, enlightenment's an accident, but spiritual practice makes you more accident prone. So then you are much more likely to have a revelatory experience, having practiced diligently for several years, than if you don't practice. Much more likely. You could still have a revelatory experience, it's possible, but fairly unlikely, unless your pain is extreme. Usually people only wake up then to extreme pain. That's the way of the cross that I talked about in the Art of Letting Go Masterclass. This is the way of mastery. It's saying, just chip away slowly but surely, do this consciously, and every day you're just shifting by degrees. If you can shift half a degree a day and you keep doing that, then sooner or later you're going to be 180-degree turnaround in your life. You turn the other way, now heading the opposite direction. That's the idea. All right. So, happy with what is the real world? Should we go to lesson 297 then?
Yeah.
So,
forgiveness.
Can read that, the original and the alternative, and then the first paragraph.
Forgiveness. Sorry, yeah. Forgiveness is the only gift I give. Letting go is the only gift I give. And then just line by line.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is the only gift I give, because it is the only gift I want. Letting go is the only gift I give, because it is the only gift I want. And everything I give myself. And everything I give to myself. This is salvation's simple formula. And this is awakening's simple formula. And I, who would be saved, would make it mine, to be the way I live within a world that needs salvation, and that will be saved as I accept at-one-ment for myself. And I, who am awakening, choose to make it mine, to be the way I live within a world that needs freedom, and that will be freed as I accept at-one-ment for myself.
Okay, so read that in the alternative from the top.
Letting go is the only gift I give because it is the only gift I want. And everything I give to myself. This is the simple formula for awakening. And I, who am awakening, choose to make it mine, to be the way I live within a world that needs awakening, and will be freed as I accept at-one-ment for myself.
Well,
So,
what's he saying in that one?
so letting go is literally the only gift we can give to ourselves and everybody, because it's the only gift we really want. So if you give, you'll get it back. This is just the simple formula for awakening. So it's mine.
I receive is a major lesson of this course. It's not talking about material things, obviously it's talking about giving the gifts of spirits, love, peace, joy.
Which
as you give those, you receive those back immediately because you feel them. We all know what it feels like. You've done a good turn, you feel you've been kind, you feel kind of warm and fuzzy inside. It's a nice feeling.
You do. It's lovely.
So immediately you've been given back, that you've given to yourself. That's what he's talking about, irrespective of what happens on the level of form. Too many people interpret it, from a form level. Oh, well, I need something material back. Maybe I gave a gift or some money, I expect that back. No, you got it back immediately in your own experience as that, nice, warm, fuzzy, connected feeling that it brought you. And, afterwards is kind of an afterglow of feeling like, yeah, well, I actually did the right thing there. That was, without any pride, I feel expanded by that. And the opposite is true. If you listen to the ego, then you don't feel expanded. You feel contracted and usually a bit guilty, fearful, and whatever. So requires a lot of the vigilance we talked about to stay in that state. Okay, so number 2, which is a short prayer. So read that again in the original and the alternative, line by line.
Father, how certain are your ways, how sure their final outcome, and how faithfully is every step in my salvation set already and accomplished by your grace. My source, how certain are your ways, how sure their final outcome, and how faithfully is every step in my awakening determined already and accomplished by your grace. Thanks be to you for your eternal gifts, and thanks to you for my identity. Thanks be to you for your eternal gifts, and thanks to you for my identity.
Yeah, so thoughts on that? What's he read it from the top, right? Just the alternative.
My source, how certain are your ways, how sure their final outcome, and how faithfully is every step in my awakening determined already and accomplished by your grace. Thanks be to you for your eternal gifts, and thanks to you for my identity. So it's just saying how grateful and thanking ourselves for this real source that we are. And this is where our awakening is found by its grace through every step.
Yeah. Very encouraging message. And all of these prayers are affirmations of this presence and this power within you. When you say my source, you're addressing your own deepest awareness and acknowledging, so yeah, there is this awareness, you can call it source or pure formless awareness. And I'm acknowledging it now in this moment. I'm addressing it, calling it into being. It's already there, but it's been suppressed and hidden. So I need to allow it to come in, ask for it, and allow it to come in, and then it can receive the eternal gifts: love, peace, joy, forever. And they're eternal because they never fade, they never die. Okay, so nice. Another nice pointer into the truth. Who we are. Forgiveness or letting go is really the only gift I can ever give. So, a perfect lesson for Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Letting go is the only gift. Okay, so your gift, your true gift to yourself and to everyone this Christmas is to let go. This is really the only gift you give, because everything else is temporary and will fade away. But the letting go opens up your mind. Opens up your mind to the truth. So as you give, you receive. Is a major lesson of the course. Because as you give this, and as you let go, as you give forgiveness, in other words, as you let go of your own negative thoughts and emotions, so you give the underlying awareness, the loving awareness that you maintain. So that is extended in your perception, and you tend to radiate that out. Okay, so shall we do a meditation on this? And then 20 minutes, and go into the Manual for Teachers. We've got 5 paragraphs, I believe, today.
Would it be all right to do the paragraphs first and then the meditation at the end? Because I end up dozing and I get a bit, I lose my steam.
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, okay. So it's 5 paragraphs. So let's go to the top. Okay, so this one is section 14 of the Manual for Teachers. And the question is, how will the world end? So that's, again, one of those questions, the apocalypse, people say the world's going to end, doomsayers going around. It's funny in the, I think it was the Tintin books. Do you ever read the Tintin books?
No.
There was, if I recall, they had some, prophet of doom going around saying, the world's going to end now. Obviously,
maybe you recollect. Yeah,
the world's going to end tomorrow. So it's been a common belief since way back when, in the time of Yeshua. The disciples were asking, when will the world end? Because they expected the world to come physical end. But what he was talking about was the spiritual end. The real meaning of the apocalypse is actually the end of the world, because you've let it all go and it simply disappears. And you've transcended it, and the illusion just vanishes. That's the apocalypse, which is
Right.
awakening, enlightenment. But of course, the ego interprets apocalypse very fearfully and says, "Oh, it's going to be the end of the, the material world, end of this world. The world will be hit by a comet or asteroid or something and obliterated." And but that's not what it means at all, because that doesn't really matter. At some point, the world will, the physical world, will be destroyed. We know that the sun will cease to be. It'll go into supernova. Once a star goes into supernova, it just blows up all the planets around it, or within close proximity. So we'd become kind of a charred cinder, and we'd be way too hot for anything to really live. So it's going to happen in who knows how many hundreds of millions or billions of years, inevitably. But that doesn't really matter, because in this lifetime you can awaken from all that, from the insanity of living on a planet. I mean, think about what we're doing here. What the hell are we doing here? We're on this rock in space, going around this star.
Same old thing.
Going around and around and around. And like, what is the point of all that? What is the purpose of it? Seemingly, living out our daily lives on this rock in the middle of nowhere. We told us this great vast universe where there's no other intelligent life. We seem to be it. If there is, we can't find it because it's so far away. You can never, get there. It's horrendous, really. It's just a nightmare of separation. And then, you all die anyway. You go around the rock for, you stay on the rock for 18, 19 years, and have all various experiences.
If you're lucky or not unlucky. Some people less than that.
Well, some people a lot less, however long it is. You have your appointed time on this little rock in space, going around and around this burning ball of fire, and then you snuff it, you die. And so, what was the point of all of it?
True.
And if you look honestly at it, you have to see what Yeshua is saying, that there is no point to it. It's just a pointless, futile exercise. You're going around and around, going precisely nowhere. We're actually going nowhere. It's like round and around, the Earth's spinning. We're circling around the same star. And what's the purpose of all of it?
I know.
Yeah, could God have made something so insane? No, it's evidently just a construction of an insane mind. All right, so let's consider this question then by reading Yeshua's response to the question, how will the world end? So you can read
line by
in
line.
The original and the alternative. Yeah, in the original and then the alternative. Thanks.
Can what has no beginning really end? Can what has no beginning really end? The world will end in an illusion as it began. The world will end in an illusion as it began. Yet will its ending be an illusion of mercy? Yet its ending will be an illusion of mercy. The illusion of forgiveness, complete, excluding no one, limitless in gentleness, will cover it, hiding all evil, concealing all sin, and ending guilt forever. The illusion of letting go, complete, excluding no one, limitless in gentleness, will cover it, hiding all evil, concealing all sin, and ending guilt forever. So ends the world that guilt has made, for now it has no purpose and is gone. So ends the world that guilt had made, for now it has no purpose and is gone. The father of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose, that they serve a need, a need or gratify a want. The source of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose to serve a need or gratify a want. Perceived as purposeless, they are no longer seen. When I understand that they are all purposeless, I will no longer perceive. I need to lift that up. Oh, I will no longer perceive them. Their uselessness is recognized and they are gone. I will recognize their uselessness and then they are gone. How but in this way are all illusions ended? How except in this way are all illusions ended? They have been brought to truth and truth saw them not. It merely overlooks the meaningless. They have brought to truth and truth does not perceive. Oh, it merely overlooks their meaningless. The meaningless.
More to truth, and truth does not perceive them. Okay, so read that in the alternative. On the top.
Can what has no beginning really end? The world will end in an illusion, as it began. Yet its ending will be an illusion of mercy. The illusion of letting go, complete, excluding no one, limitless in gentleness, will cover it, hiding all evil, concealing all sin and ending guilt forever.
I've just changed that mercy to unconditional love.
Oh, that's better. Yeah, that sounds a bit more.
And it will be an illusion of unconditional love.
Yeah.
So,
more up to date.
Love is by definition unconditional, but in this world, you have this illusion that unconditional is needed because you've got conditional love. See, so it's an illusion of that, even though actually in reality there is only unconditional love. But in this world, we call it unconditional because there's apparently conditional love as well, which is the special love of the ego. Okay, so carry on. So number 5.
So end the world that guilt had made, for now it has no purpose and is gone.
So the world that guilt has made will end, maybe. Might be a better way of saying that. Oh no, it has no purpose and is gone. Okay.
The source of illusions is the belief that they have a purpose to serve a need or gratify a want. When I understand they are purposeless, I will no longer perceive them. I will recognize their uselessness, and then they are gone. How except in this way are all illusions ended? They have been brought to the truth, and truth does not perceive them. It merely overlooks the meaningless. Hmm.
So, thoughts on that? What's he saying in that one?
Well, it looks like, well, the world's going to end in the illusion as it began. So the ending.
I would say maybe that should be through an illusion. And what beginning is really have no. The world will end.
Yeah.
Through an illusion.
Yeah.
I think that would be better than in an illusion. Through an illusion as it began.
Yeah.
So it began through illusion, the idea of separation, the idea of collapsing the idea of separation, which is what letting go is about, is another illusion. But through that illusion, it ends. The delusion of having a separate self collapses, and through the illusion of collapsing a separate self, which doesn't even exist, so does the dream end. Which is why he says forgiveness is a dream. It's the only dream that's going to awaken you and end all other dreams. All other dreams just lead to more dreams, perpetuate the dreaming of the world.
Mm-hmm. It says hiding all evil. Should that mean not say ending all evil? Because hiding it still sounds like it's still there.
Illusion of letting go, complete, excluding no one, limitless and gentleness will cover it. Hiding all evil, concealing all sin, and ending guilt forever. Yeah, the original is hiding all evil. Yeah, okay. Maybe we could change that. So we'll cover it. Maybe eliminate evil.
Yeah. Because hiding means it's still there.
Yeah, not sure about that choice of words. Overcoming instead of concealing.
Yeah.
Overcoming all sin and ending guilt forever. I think those are better choices. Because the concealing and
hiding is still
ending there, but hiding and concealing are kind of okay. We've just covered it over, but it's still there.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, what the ego specializes. Oh, well, I'll just hide it and cover it over and pretend it's not there. Yeah. But it is, and it keeps arising out of your subconscious because you haven't really dealt with it.
Yeah.
Okay, number 5. So the world of guilt is made.
So the world that guilt has made will end, for now it has no purpose and is gone. The source of illusion is the belief that they have a purpose. I've just read it all, haven't I? I was actually just doing a summary. Oh, you want me?
Okay, yeah. I thought, weren't you reading it again?
Yeah, because I'd read it. I was just doing a summary. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you read it in the alternative?
Yes, I was just doing a summary.
I was just fixing up a few things. So.
Yeah.
And you suggested as well, which is why it's useful going over it again. Because actually you see things.
Yeah, I was just doing the summary there.
Yeah.
When I understand that they are purposeless, yeah. Oh, so once we lose the purpose of it, then it's no longer there. So we recognize the uselessness as, and then it's all gone. Once we see its uselessness. So that's when
they've been brought to truth. So we bring the illusions to the truth. Never the truth into illusions. Bring the illusions to the truth, and the truth just doesn't perceive it. You said earlier, only God knows, but actually God doesn't know. That's the whole point. Pure formless awareness doesn't know about any of these illusions. It just merely overlooks the meaningless. It says these illusions don't even exist. Doesn't acknowledge them as real in any way, shape, or form. So that's bringing the illusions to the truth. If you try and bring God into the dream and say, well, God's doing this and God wants this, and then you're trying to bring the truth into the illusion, which is never going to work because you're trying to compromise that. Okay. Yeah. So any other thoughts on number 1?
Yeah, no, that's clear. Yeah, that's clear.
Okay. So moving swiftly on to number 2 then.
Yep. Yeah, just had to mute there for a second. Right. Until forgiveness is complete, the world does have a purpose. Until letting go is complete, the world does have a purpose. It becomes the home in which forgiveness is born, and where it grows and becomes stronger and more all-embracing. Becomes the home on which letting go is born, and where it grows and becomes stronger and more all-embracing. Here is it nourished, or here it is needed. Here it is nourished, for here it is needed. A gentle Saviour, born where sin was made and guilt seemed real. Gentle Awakener, born where sin was made and guilt seemed real. Here is his home, for here there is no need of him indeed. Here it is home, for here there is indeed a need of it. He brings the ending of the world with him. It brings the ending of the world with it. It is his call, God's teacher, answer, turning to him in silence to receive his word. It is its call, perfect love's teacher's answer, turning to it in silence to receive its message. The world will end when all things in it have been rightly judged by his judgment. The world will end when all things in it have been rightly judged by its judgment. The world will end with the benediction of holiness upon it. The world will end with the benediction of innocence upon it. When sin remains, the world is over. When not one thought of sin remains, the world is over. It will not be destroyed, nor attacked, nor even touched. It will not be destroyed, nor attacked, nor even touched. It will merely cease to seem to be. And it will merely cease to seem to be.
So read that in the alternative from the top.
Until letting go is complete, the world does not have a purpose. It becomes the home in which letting go is born, and where it grows and becomes stronger and more all-embracing. Here it is nourished, for here it is needed. A gentle awakener, born where sin was made and guilt seemed real. Here is its home, for here there is indeed a need of it. It brings the ending of the world with it. It is the called perfect love's teacher answer, turning it to silence to receive its message. The world will end when all things in it have been rightly judged by its judgment. The world will end with the benediction of innocence upon it. When not one thought of sin remains, the world is over. It will not be destroyed, nor attacked, nor even touched. It will merely cease to seem to be.
Yeah, change benediction to innocent, blessing of innocence.
Yeah, that's...
All the end of the blessing of innocence.
Yeah.
Upon it or on it, on it. And not one thought of sin remains. When no thought, maybe. When no thought of sin remains, the world is over. When thought of sin remains, the world will be over. Will not be destroyed, nor attacked, nor even touched. Will merely cease to seem to be. So he's giving us the, true nature of the apocalypse. Not that the world will be destroyed by fire and brimstone or comets or whatever it is that people believe on the physical level. It will simply be discarded, merely cease to seem to be, disappear in your mind, because it is just a projection of the mind, a very elaborate, intricate one, and a rather persistent one, as Einstein said, but nevertheless, just an illusion of the mind. So when the mind is awoken, then it doesn't project the illusion anymore, and the illusion disappears because there's nothing that's being projected outside of the mind. It merely cease to seem to be. So he's pointing us directly to the end of the dream here, and how that's going to look. Okay. Anything else? What else is he saying in that paragraph?
Once this letting go is complete, that's the end of the world, really, because it's lost its purpose. There's no need.
Can you see why the ego has such resistance to this teaching?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's game over. It's the end of it. Separate identity, no more separate identity, no more form, no more bodies, no more worlds, no more drama, no more, any of what the ego values and cherishes as important and real is none of it. It's just you pull the plug on the whole thing. So that's why it's got so much resistance to this teaching, because it does realize, like any entity, although it's illusory, it protects itself. It's got a self-defense mechanism to protect itself and keep itself going. And so the truth is the ultimate antidote to the ego. It will ultimately end the dream. So therefore, it has to resist the truth. It doesn't want to accept it, because it's only the truth that will end the ego. Not by some fighting or destruction. I mean, the misinterpretations around this end of the world concept are quite egregious. There'll be a lot of Christians believe it was some kind of final apocalypse, some kind of war between the light and the dark, light finally winning, destroying the darkness. The earth will be destroyed. All the sinners will be wiped clean. Oh, so the book of Revelation, if you've read it, sort of lends itself to that. It's got a lot of very graphic imagery, written in probably an altered state of consciousness. Who knows if he was on drugs or whatever, but it was written by the Apostle John in a some altered state, and then all these visions which came to him, and he wrote them down, but they weren't necessarily inspired by the Holy Spirit. He wasn't necessarily at the level of Yeshua, so some of them could have been distortions, and certainly prone to misinterpretation, that's for sure. For many Christians, they swear by Revelations. For them, the Revelations is the most important book in the Bible, which it isn't. It's kind of an after side dish, really. The most important ones are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that have the teachings of Yeshua in them. Anyway, that's an aside. So world's just going to end by letting it go, and it just fades away and disappears. Hence, Gary Renard, if you've read his book, he titled it "The Disappearance of the Universe."
Yes, I've read it.
Brilliant title. Well, it'll just disappear because it'll cease to be projected. The mind no longer believes in it. The projection will just cease. Now, from our enslaved perspective in the matrix, in bodies, with a world around us that's seemingly so real, that seems to be inconceivable, doesn't it? It's like, well, how can it just disappear? But mystics accomplish this. They go into samadhi, a revelatory state, and the world disappears. So when you're in this top level awareness, which you can go into while you still seemingly have a body, you just won't be aware of the body when you're in the state. This would be called a samadhi state in the East, or revelation in the Course's teaching. Then the world just disappears. Your separate self, your body, the world just disappear, and you just hang out in this awareness. And it's pure, it's formless, it's innocent, it's it's wonderful. And you hang out in that for days, weeks. Some of these enlightened beings, they stay in samadhi for weeks at a time, because what else is there to do? They're just in their true awareness. So this is where this is pointing us. And in that state, and they're in samadhi, the world has disappeared from them. They're not even aware of their body. Well, apparently, this Ramana, he was so in this space. He'd go into deep samadhi for weeks, and his disciples would then have to kind of clean his body and just like wipe the insects off and stop them like eating his flesh because he was so out of his body, not even aware of what's going on, that it didn't really matter. We'd get something really chomping him, and he just wouldn't feel it because he wasn't really in his body. Which shows you that we're not bodies, and the mind is not the body, and the mind is not identified with this world. It's gone into another state that's transcendent, which is what he's pointing to here. The end of the world, how nice would that be? So in practice, it's not going to end tomorrow. You'll get up tomorrow, it'll still be there, because it's a very, as Einstein said brilliantly, he said, well, the world is just an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. It's quite a dry remark, isn't it? Yeah, it's very persistent. So it's not just going to cease to be immediately. But if you keep practicing and doing the mind training, when you finally lay your body aside, then it just ceases to be. You don't have the body anymore, and the physical senses. And there's then no need to come back and have another body. So you just stay in pure formless awareness, and all the dreams have merely ceased to seem to be, and you return to your original state of awareness, which you never really left, in truth. Okay, so
yes.
Number 2. Let's go on to number 3 then.
Right. Certainly, this seems to be a long, long while away. Certainly seems to be a long, long time away. When not one thought of sin remains, appears to be a long-range goal indeed. When not one thought of sin remains, appears to be a long-range goal indeed. But time stands still and waits on the goal of God's teachers. The time stands.
Make that long term. Used to be a long term goal. Would be better on long range. Okay, carry on. So time stands still.
But time stands still and waits on the goal of perfect love's teachers. 4, can't see it. Not one thought of sin will remain the instant any one of them accepts at one-ment for himself. Not one thought of sin will remain the instant any one of them accepts at one-ment for himself. It is not easier to forget.
Let's make that them, shall we? Instant the moment, instant moment, the moment to instant, the moment. Any one of them accepts at one-ment for themselves, maybe it would be better.
Yeah. And 5. Oops, that's it. It's not easier to forgive one sin than to forgive all of them. It is not easier to let go of one sin than to let them all go. To let go.
Yeah, that's probably to let them all go.
Let
Would be
them.
better. Remember, the original was forgive us, forgive all of them. So
to let them all
easier to let
go.
go of one sin and to let them all go.
The illusion of orders of difficulty is an obstacle the teacher of God must learn to pass by and leave behind. The illusion of orders of difficulty is an obstacle the teacher of perfect love must learn to overcome and leave behind. One sin perfectly forgiven by one teacher of God can make salvation complete. One sin perfectly let go of by one teacher of perfect love can make awakening complete. Can you understand this? Can you understand this? No.
And I understand this.
Oh, can I understand this? No. It is meaningless to anyone here. No, it is meaningless to anyone seemingly living in the world. Yet, it is the final lesson in which unity is restored. Yet it is the final lesson in which unity is restored. It goes against all the thinking of the world, but so does heaven. It goes against all the thinking of the world, but so does the state of pure formless awareness.
Okay, and read it from the top in the alternative.
This certainly seems to be a long, long time away, when not one thought of sin remains. Appears to be a long-term goal indeed. But time stands still and waits on the goal of perfect love's teachers. Not one thought of sin will remain the moment any one of them accepts at one for themselves. It is not easier to let go of one sin than to let them all go. The illusion of orders of difficulty is an obstacle to the teacher of perfect love. Must learn to overcome and leave behind. One sin perfectly let go of by one teacher of perfect love can make awakening complete. Can I understand this? No. It is meaningless to anyone seemingly living in this world. Yet it is the final lesson in which unity is restored. It goes against all the thinking of the world, but so does the state of pure formless awareness.
It contradicts, goes against. Contradicts the entire thinking. Contradicts the thinking of the world. No, actually, so it is the state of pure formless awareness. Okay, so what's he saying? Summary in this one?
Well, it seems a very long time away. But if one thought of their sin remains, it's going to be, a long-term goal indeed. But time we can stand as long as it wants until perfect love's teachers find this. and once no thoughts of sin are remaining, and the at-one-ment is accepted, and letting go of not just one sin, but all of them.
Or one sin, it's the key line, one sin perfectly let go of by one teacher of perfect love can make awakening complete. So if you truly let go of the one represents all of them. Because if you can let go of one, then you've let go of all of them. Yeah.
Of course, it's.
And he says, but can I understand this? No, it's not meaningless to anyone seemingly living in this world, because most people don't. Like, well, hang on, because we think in terms of quantity. Oh, well, there's this sin and there's this sin, so it's going to take an enormous amount of time to get rid of all of that. But actually, it's really just a qualitative shift that's required. We've got to shift ourselves up out of this dream world and go whoop, up out of there. And at this level, there's no sin. And that can happen in an instant, in a moment. Chop, up you go, and there you are in a sinless state of pure formless awareness, just looking down on all of this, and you realize that it's done. All sin in that moment is over, because you've experienced the pure formless awareness of perfect love that lies above it. And so, look at another way in the timeline. At any point in your dark dream on the timeline, you have the ability to just helicopter out and go, I'll just go up into this awareness, and there's no time in this awareness. So it doesn't have to take a long time. It's just a vertical shift into this higher awareness, and that can happen in a moment, as has been demonstrated, frequently in history. The mystics and yogis and so on have these experiences in a moment where the world just drops away, and in that moment they get it. They see that the world isn't real. So it's a glimpse of eternity. I've had one of these. You go up, and it's another reality. We symbolize it as up into something, but it's just, you've just disappeared into another reality, and the world disappears in that moment. There's no sense of body or your personal identity or time or anything. Just this awareness. But there was an awareness there. It was just pure, pristine, pure formless awareness. And once you've experienced that, that's the end of the world. You've experienced that state already. So then to perceive correctly, all of the events on the timeline that are still going to play out isn't that difficult, because you just realize, well, there's only this awareness really. And I just need to return my mind back into that awareness. That's my job while I seem to be here. Okay, so that diagram maybe helps. Is that clear?
It is. Mm-hmm.
All right, so doesn't have to take a long time. We can do it instantly, because actually it's always there. It's right here, right now. So there's no time in the now. It's just always there, always available. So a very different way of thinking about it. All right, so number 4.
The world will end when its thought system has been completely reversed. The world will end when its thought system has been completely reversed. Until then, bits and pieces of its thinking will still seem sensible. Until then, bits and pieces of its thinking will seem sensible. The final lesson, which brings the ending of the world, cannot be grasped by those not yet prepared to leave the world and go beyond its tiny reach. The final lesson, which brings the ending of the world, cannot be grasped by those not yet prepared to leave the world and go beyond its tiny reach. What then is the function of the teacher of God in this concluding lesson? What then is the function of the teacher of perfect love is this concluding lesson? He needed merely learn how to approach it, to be willing to go on its direction. We need merely learn how to approach it and be willing to go on its direction.
And they need to. They merely need to learn how to approach it. And to be willing to go in its direction. Okay, carry on. Number 6.
Yeah, he need merely trust that if God's voice tells him it is a lesson he can learn it. They need merely trust that if perfect love's voice tells them it is a lesson they can learn, then they can learn it. He does not judge it either as hard or easy. They do not judge it either hard or easy. His teacher points to it, and he trusts that he will show him how to learn it. Their teacher points to it, and they trust that it will show them how to learn it.
Okay, and read it from the top in the alternative.
The world will end when its thought system has been completely reversed. Until then, bits and pieces of its thinking still seem sensible. The final lesson, which brings about the ending of the world, cannot be grasped by those not yet prepared to leave the world and go beyond its tiny reach. What then is the function of teacher of perfect love in this final lesson? They merely need to learn how to approach it and how to be willing to go in its direction. They need merely trust that if perfect love's voice tells them it is a lesson they can learn it. They do not judge it either as hard or easy. Their teacher points to it, and they trust that it will show them how to learn it.
Oh, okay, so what's he saying in this one?
Well, the world will end once the thought system is completely reversed. But until then the thinking just still goes on. Thinking will still be sort of, yeah, so it'll appear sensible. So the final lesson will be with the ending of the world, but it can't be grasped by those yet to leave the world, go beyond its tiny reach. So
Yeah, so it can seem to be an impossible goal. What he's pointing to with enlightenment. It's like, well, it's very long range and it's going to take a long time. And, but actually, it can happen in a moment because there is no time. Because that awareness is always there. You know, it's always there. It's never gone away. And in a moment, you can access that awareness and you can identify with it and free yourself. And you know, the world will still seem to continue for a while, unless that's the moment you exit as well from your physical body. But for most people, they'll come back. But their perception of the world has changed. They can never perceive it in the same way because they've had a glimpse of the end. And now it's not so inconceivable. Once you've had a mystic experience like it, it's not inconceivable that the world would simply disappear because it already has. And you could see how that could be extended for all time and into eternity because you've experienced it. So we just need to trust this perfect love's voice that's telling us, okay, these are the experiences that will awaken you. Don't be frightened. And that this is something you can learn and you must learn. And do not judge it as either hard or easy. So, to say, well, enlightenment is really hard and it's going to take a long time. No, that's incorrect. But so is, oh, well, it's a piece of cake and I'm going to do it in 5 minutes. We just listen to the teacher that points to it and they trust that it will show them how to learn it. Approach yet something that needs to be capital action to be willing to go in its direction to my perfect love. And it is perfect love. You can learn it. And do not judge it as either hard or easy. The teacher points to it and they trust that it will show them how to learn it. Okay, so any other thoughts on number 4?
No, that's good.
All right, last paragraph, number 5.
Okay. The world will end in joy because it is a place of sorrow. The world will end in joy because it is a place of sorrow. When joy has come, the purpose of the world has gone. When joy has come, the purpose of the world has gone. The world will end in peace because it is a place of war. When the world will end in peace because it is a place of conflict. When peace has come, what is the purpose of the world? When peace has come, what is the purpose of the world? The world will end in laughter because it is a place of tears. The world will end in laughter because it is a place of tears. Where there is laughter, who can longer weep? Where there is laughter, who can weep longer? And only complete forgiveness brings all this to bless the world. And only complete letting go brings all of this to bless the world. In blessing it departs, for it will not end as it began. In blessings it departs, for it will not end as it began. To turn hell into heaven is the function of God's teachers. For what they teach are lessons in which heaven is reflected. To turn to victimhood and suffering into the state of pure formless awareness of perfect formless awareness is the function of is the function of pure formless awareness of perfect love's teachers for what they teach. What they teach are lessons in which the state of pure formless awareness is reflected. And now sit down in true humility and realize that all God would have you do, you can do. And now sit down in true humility and realize that all pure formless awareness of perfect love would have you do, you can do.
Yeah, wants me to do. So
Wants me to do. Do not be
I can
arrogant. Do not be arrogant and say you cannot learn his own curriculum. Do not be arrogant and say I cannot learn its own curriculum. His word says otherwise. Its message says otherwise. His will be done. Its awareness will be done. Is done.
complete.
It's complete. Yeah. I cannot be otherwise. I cannot
It
be
cannot
otherwise.
be. It cannot be.
It cannot be otherwise. And be you thankful it is so. And be you thankful it is so.
I am thankful. I'm
I am
thankful.
thankful.
So, okay, read that in the alternative from the top, please.
The world will end in joy because it is a place of sorrow. When joy has come, the purpose of the world has gone. The world will end in peace because it is a place of conflict. When peace has come, what is the purpose of the world? The world will end in laughter because it's a place of tears. Where there is laughter, who can cry longer? And only complete letting go brings all this to bless the world. In blessing it departs, for it will not end as it begun. To turn victimhood and suffering into the state of pure formless awareness is the function of perfect love's teachers. For what they teach are lessons in which the state of pure formless awareness is reflected. And now I sit down in true humility and realize that all pure formless awareness of perfect love wants me to do, I can do. Do not be arrogant and say I can't learn its own curriculum. Its message says otherwise. Its awareness is complete. It cannot be otherwise, and I am thankful it is so.
Okay. What's he saying in the final paragraph?
Well, it's saying that the world will end in joy because it's a place of sorrow. And it will end in peace as well because it's a place of conflict. So when peace has come, what's the purpose of the world? And the world will end in laughter because it's in place of tears. So just by completely letting go brings all this to bless the world. So in the blessing, it departs. It will not end as it begun, for it will not end as it begun. So turning to victimhood and suffering into this state of pure formless awareness is the function of the perfect love's teachers, because they teach the state of pure formless awareness.
Yeah, you say it's a done deal. Whether you accept it or not, this is a done deal, and be glad that it's a done deal. be really thankful. Thank God that it is. That this is so. And that we're not, doomed to continue struggling and suffering and dying. And this is reality. We've got to just, carry on. It's like it's saying the dream can end anytime you want it to. Dream of victimhood and suffering is really over. So if it's really over, all you have to do is accept it, and then it's over for you. But every person must accept it for themselves. No one can force that acceptance onto you. That's your own decision. Which is why we do the mind training, because he's trying to help us to make the right decision. All right, so then there's just a personalized executive summary. If you want to read that, just read it. Pause at each paragraph, and if you've got any reflections on it, say that. But we've largely done it. This is just a recap, a summary of them.
Mm-hmm. I recognize that the world, having begun as an illusion, will also end as one. This ending is a gentle illusion of mercy, completely letting go, rendering evil, sin, and guilt obsolete. The world born from guilt loses its purpose and disappears when I perceive it as purposeless. This reveals its inefficacy of illusions, which dissolve when brought to truth and are then overlooked as meaningless.
Okay, so you're saying that?
Once we recognize that the world is an illusion, then that's where it'll end as an illusion. All the evil, sin will just become obsolete, and then it just disappears and loses its purpose once it's brought to the truth.
I think it's a nice idea. It just becomes redundant. You don't fight the illusions. They're just kind of pointless. Think of that word obsolete's quite good because it's used often in technology terms. Something becomes obsolete. So let's say a typewriter. It's obsolete. It's a kind of artifact. You have a typewriter, but you don't need it anymore. So it has no purpose and no use and no reality anymore. In the same way, these ideas of evil, sin, and guilt, what did I need that for? It's just, no, you've moved on. You've gone beyond that. So that's quite a nice idea. Obviously a bit easier, a bit harder to do, seemingly, than the letting go of a typewriter, but there's no order of difficulty in miracles. So it can be done in a moment. In an instant, you can transcend the evil and sin and the guilt and be born again into the truth. This reveals the inefficacy, the powerless nature, maybe, of illusions, which dissolve when brought to truth. And then perceived as meaningless. Okay, happy with that one? Next one.
Yeah. The world holds a purpose until I've completely let go. It becomes nurturing ground for the birth and growth of letting go. In this world, born from sin and guilt, the gentle awakener, remembrance and perfect love finds a home. The end of the world coincides with the full embrace of this remembrance. The world's end is foreseen as a time when all things are judged in innocence, ceasing to exist when sin is entirely absent.
Yeah, let's just saying this one.
The world has got a purpose, but once we've completely let go, it becomes a nurturing ground for the birth And the
I changed it to the birth and development.
Yeah.
Birth and development on my willingness and ability to let go. That's what really the world is about. It's training you to do that. And you get all these opportunities to practice. So from that perspective, the world is, perfect. It's the perfect school to learn to let go of your ego, which is why it continues to seem to exist. As long as there's ego and you have to let it go, then you come here. This is where you learn your lessons.
Yeah.
And the world coincides with the full embrace of this remembrance, full acceptance, full acceptance of this remembrance of perfect love, and then it's no longer a remembrance, then it becomes your awareness. Full acceptance of this remembrance as my own awareness. All then is foreseen as a time when all things are judged in innocence, ceasing to exist when sin is entirely absent. And the world's end. I'm saying the world will end when all things, when I judge all things. I judge everyone, maybe everyone and everything as innocent, ceasing to exist. And just cease to exist. Cease to exist when sin is entirely absent. When I have let go of sin completely. Just read those last two lines in the translator in the
The end of the world coincides with the full acceptance of this remembrance as my own awareness. The world will end when I judge everyone and everything as innocent. It will cease to exist when I have let go of sin completely.
Yeah, so just telling us what we need to do, really. It's very comforting. Okay, when you've dropped it all, you've let go completely, then the world will end. But as long as you still have these beliefs, the world continues because the world is just the product of those beliefs. So it's designed to perpetuate those beliefs. So it's very sticky because the belief makes the world, and then the world reinforces the belief. And we get caught up in that sticky illusion until we come to a teaching like this that says, well, you just got to let it go completely. Get unstuck, let it go. And so you're not stuck into the world's thought system. And then you, from that perspective, it just seems ridiculous and pointless. Once you got yourself unstuck and you're above the battle, it's like, well, why did I do that then? What was the point of it? Okay, so next one, this envisioned end.
The envisioned end seems distant, contingent upon the absence of sin. Time, however, pauses, waiting for the goal of pure formless awareness, perfect love's teachers. A single sin, perfectly let go by one of these teachers, complete the process of awakening. This concept, through seemingly unfathomable, I can't say it. I know what I'm trying to say, but it's not coming out.
Unfathomable.
Unfathomable. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one.
It is a bit. But seemingly, shall we change that to not understandable?
Yeah, keep it simple. Understandable here is the ultimate lesson that restores unity, encounters world logic, much like the state of pure formless awareness does.
Yeah. And what's he saying in that one?
Well, again, it seems a very difficult task to have absence of time and sin, and waiting for the goal of the teachers of perfect love. But a single sin perfectly let go of by one of these teachers can open to the process of awakening.
And think of, Yeshua demonstrated this so clearly in the resurrection, crucifixion, resurrection drama. So in that moment, when he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," he forgave all of it. And he demonstrated that in this egregious situation where he was being murdered, that he could, you can radically forgive. And in that moment, one could argue, was humanity saved? Because he forgave the seemingly unforgivable in that moment. And so he demonstrated that it can be done to anyone for all time. They can apply the same radical forgiveness to whatever seems to be happening in their life. And so because, he did it for everyone, he showed the way, everyone can follow in that example. So the world was saved in that moment. See, so that's going beyond the ego's illusion of, oh, well, this, to save the world requires all this stuff to happen. Everyone's got to get on board, and no, it was saved in that moment. But it's just going to take time, thousands and thousands of years to play out. Here we are 2,000 years later, it's still playing out, and humanity is still really in its infancy. There's still so much delusion going on. But this can be the lifetime, nevertheless, that you awaken. So that's what he's asking us to set as our goal. So, okay, well, this is it. Enlightenment to infinity and beyond, as Buzz Lightyear said in the Toy Story. That's where I'm going, to infinity and beyond. And that's my only purpose and goal while I seem to be human. All right, so the next paragraph, world's end awaits the total reversal.
The world's end awaits the total reversal of its thought system. Until then, remnants of its logic may persist. The final lesson leading to the world's end eludes those not ready to transcend worldly limits. As a teacher of perfect love, my role is to learn, trust, and approach this lesson without judgment, guided by perfect love's voice. So it's the end awaits, the world's end awaits when we reverse our thought system. And until all its remnants of logic end, we'll just continue in this separate state. Yeah.
Remnants. And so you experienced that recently with that, you had that issue about the body and then you weren't sure. So that was just
oh, yes.
A remnant of the ego's logic, and then it just confuses you. And you go like, well, okay, now I'm confused. And so that happens quite often as you let go.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that confusion is just another block. That's part of the ego system coming up to be looked at and let go of. So when they come up, it's good because it brings it in, highlights it, and then helps you to make a choice. And when you eliminate the confusion, then you've overcome the block. And once you've overcome it, you typically, it is possible to black slide. If you've really done it, then you understand and you've gone to another level. So you don't go back into that same level.
Yeah.
All right. So last paragraph of this, and then just the key message. World will end in joy.
Yeah. The world will end in joy, peace and laughter, signifying the end of sorrow, conflict and tears. Complete letting go blesses and transforms the world, not ending as it begun, but shifting from victimhood to the state of pure formless awareness. I rest in humility, realizing pure formless awareness of perfect love wishes only for me to do so. Aligned with its awareness, I accept its curriculum gratefully. So it's just saying the world will end in joy and peace and laughter, which then will signify all this conflict and misery. So by just completely letting go, it can transform the world and shifting from this suffering victimhood to the true state of pure formless awareness, and rest in this humility of
The
pure
state of
formless
no
awareness.
suffering. It's inconceivable for the ego. You rest in a state in which there's no suffering. There's just this pure awareness and nothing else. He's saying this is achievable. But you must completely let go. If you haven't completely let go, then the ego remains. You have these fragments of the old thought system that keep coming back to haunt you and deny this pure form, the state of pure formless awareness. Okay, so last one, just a key message, very short and sweet. Summarize the whole thing.
In my understanding, the world, an illusion born from guilt, will end with complete letting go and transform into a state of peace and joy. As a teacher of perfect love, I trust in this journey, learning to let go of all illusions and embracing unity.
Yeah, let's just change that. Better way to say, I want to completely let go. You need to live in a state of peace and joy. Teacher of perfect love, I trust in the spirit journey, learning to let go of more illusions. Accepting my unity with all. So read that from the top again, and the key message.
In my understanding, the world is an illusion born from guilt and will end when I completely go. Let go. Let's completely go.
Let go, yeah. Well, if you take out let go when I completely go, yes, I'll completely go, won't you? Just
Oh,
disappear.
well, okay.
But yeah, no,
fine.
let go. It should be let go.
Right.
But let go, interesting. If you take out the let, then you just go. You go
Yeah,
home.
that's it. No fussing, just keep on, yeah. Allowing me to live in a state of peace and joy. As a teacher of perfect love, I trust in this journey, learning to let go of all illusions, accepting my unity with all sentient beings instead.
Yeah, nice. A nice thought.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so any final thoughts on this?
That's very good. Well, yeah, they're all
Hmm.
very good.
Hmm.
Practicing it though, making sure you get rid of those illusions.
Hmm.
Practice, practice.
Yeah, just keep letting them go. That's all you can do. And
Yeah,
as you let go, each one becomes another step in this ending of the world. It's like that everyone is a nail in the ego's coffin.
Mm.
Okay, that's ending. Oh, you're going to, and you're saying just keep doing that, and you can't fail because what will be left is just pure formless awareness of perfect love at the end of that. And there'll be no need to, be a body and come back here and try and make this ridiculous place work again. So that's how the world will end. My key summary was that the world will end by completely letting go, and you'll simply fade away and disappear, and you merge into pure formless awareness of perfect love, back into God, and that is everyone's goal. That is the should be the goal of every human life, and certainly the goal of the teacher of perfect love should be. That's they realize that's the only purpose and the only function. So they're not hanging around here indefinitely. Even that can be twisted. People say, well, you become like the bodhisattva, and so you're going to come back into the dream world until every sentient being is free. Well, good luck with that one, because you're going to come back for a long, long time. So that's not what Yeshua's teaching. He's saying you can actually just let it all go, and it can disappear, and you can be entirely free if you want to. If you want to come back, you can. If you want to, do something like Yeshua did and become a teacher of this at one moment, then that's also possible. But you want to let go entirely of the world. That's really the key message in order to be free of all illusions. Okay, so any other thoughts on that? Otherwise, that's a wrap for number 14. How will the world end? It will end through letting go, not in some kind of apocalyptic physical cataclysm, but in your letting go. It will simply disappear and fade away. The disappearance of the universe. It's a nice title for that book by Gary Renard. So to end the session, do you want to do a meditation? Or is it too late for you?
No, I'm going to say good night, yeah. But I'll listen to the meditation in the morning.
No, well, I'm not going to guide it if you listen to recording.
I see.
So.
Yeah. No, I'm going to.
Yeah, you're going. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So thanks very much. Yeah.
All right.
Good.
So
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow evening. Yeah.
Where are we? What day is it? Either
Thursday
or.
tomorrow.
I can do either or tomorrow, actually.
Thursday tomorrow. Oh, okay.
Which is best for you. So whatever your schedule is tomorrow. You don't know yet.
Yeah. Okay. No, let's do an afternoon. I think it'll give me the evening free. So could be
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
That's
right.
fine.
So yeah, see you
See you
tomorrow at
tomorrow.
12:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okie doke.
Okay.
See you then.
All right.
Namaste. Bye.
Namaste. Bye bye. All right. So thank you to Elaine. That's a wrap for today. Good session as usual. And the key message of that is let go. Letting go is the key to ending the world and ending the dream. So if this message resonated with you, then join us next year for the 1-year program of Awakening, starting in February. So you can join us for our next masterclass, which will be happening beginning of January. Go to theaolg.com to check it out, register for that, and can also sign up to receive daily messages via Telegram. When I share it on email, you can get sent to you every day. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel and like this video, then do that. I'll let you know when I go live, which is 6 days a week. So yeah, thanks again, and namaste, which means the true awakened self in me acknowledges and honors that same true awakened self in you. In peace.